Hello and welcome to episode 354 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to TV to studio films to documentaries to animation and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director and producer, and if you're feeling kind, go watch and support my movies. 3-Day Millionaire, which is on Netflix, The Stranger in Our Bed, Wolves of War, Repeat, and A Serial Killer's Guide to Life, which are all on Amazon and Sky right now. If you want to support, do so. On today's episode, myself and Dom Lenoir sat down with Matthew López, the director of the smash hit Amazon feature film Red, White and Royal Blue. On the episode, Matthew López talks about why he chose this story for his debut movie, how he pitched to the studios, and why he's not talking about writing on this episode. We also talk about how he chose his DP and cast. He talks location, shot list and preparation, and if he didn't do a moving master shot first, he got in trouble. We also talk about directing stars and why actors coming in off book is so time-saving. And we discuss why you don't need to cut each time, how he shot UK for the USA, and why he loved editing Red, White and Royal Blue. So Matthew López, for those of you who don't know, he's an American playwright and screenwriter. His play, The Inheritance, which was directed by Stephen Daldry, was a huge hit when it opened in 2018, and it transferred to the West End and on Broadway, and it won the Tony Awards, Olivia Awards, Evening Standard, London Critics Circle Awards, among many others, and he's the first Latino writer to win the Tony Award for Best Play. He also co-wrote the book for the musical adaptation of the classic film Some Like It Hot. And he has also written on the TV show The Newsroom, but this is his debut movie as a screenwriter and a director. Now, Red, White and Royal Blue is a ridiculously fun feature where enemies become lovers. It's a rather slick gay romance story starring Nicholas Galitzine and Taylor Zachar Perez as the two leads, but it also stars Uma Thurman and Stephen Fry, who has been on this podcast, by the way. Just type in Stephen Fry, the Filmmakers Podcast, on the internet and it will come up, and you'll be able to listen to him brilliantly telling us about filmmaking and acting. It's superb. I'll try and put a link in the show notes as well. Red, White and Royal Blue is available on Amazon now. Check it out. It is really fun, and sometimes you need that light-heartedness to take away from all the crap that is happening in the world or in your filmmaking lives right now. I know how difficult it can be. Not everyone is making movies all the time, and it can get depressing when we're in the middle of that period where we don't know what's happening next, especially right now. And with the SAG strike, the Writers Guild of America strike, it's probably put a lot of your projects on hold, and that can get you down. So try and be inspired, try not to let it, but it does. It's okay to wallow for a moment, but come out the other end stronger. Come out the other end fighting for you and your projects and what you believe in. And if that means you doing something to make that happen, if you can, because we do stand by the Writers Guild of America strike that is happening right now, and the SAG strike. But that doesn't mean you can't think about it. That doesn't mean you can't get in the right headspace for you to go and make your film. Shout outs on this week's podcast go to Michael J. Long, Ben Treblecook, Simeon Willis, Catherine Georgiou, Nina Christopherson and Teresa Godley for all supporting the podcast massively this week and giving us retweets and likes and shares, etc. You want your name read out on the Filmmakers Podcast? Do the same. Our Twitter is @FilmmakersPod or Instagram @TheFilmmakersPod, or go to our website, The Filmmakers Podcast, where we have a back catalogue of over 350 episodes on making films. So if there's something specific you want, whether it's cinematography or editing or screenwriting, just type that into the search bar on the podcast page and you will find it. There's so many on how you can do it. Boland's Shoes, the feature film produced by Terry Dwyer and directed by Ian Poulsen Davies, will be released on September the 15th. That's literally 3 weeks away. And episodes coming up next week and the week after for you is Josh Greenbaum, who directed The Strays. You might have seen the trailers for this doggy comedy, filthy doggy comedy. Yes, and there is some dogging involved. Then you're going to love that episode. And also Oliver Krimpass, his film Around the Sun, which is in cinemas in Australia now and on Amazon around the world. Do go support both of those people, Josh Greenbaum and Oliver Krimpass, will be on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. Right, let's get to it. This is myself and Dom Lenoir chatting with the rather brilliant Matthew López, all about his career and making red, white and royal blue. Oh, just so you know, we jumped straight into the podcast. There's no hellos here. Well, we did do them, but we start talking straight away about sound. So there you go. Straight into it. Enjoy.
I'm amazed at how many things that I knew were just going to be ruined by sound on set, by an airplane or a car horn or whatever. And then I, get into post and my sound engineer's like, oh yeah, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Like we had we had this one scene where there's a smallish techno crane coming down and it was making such a racket as it was coming down. And I'm like, this is an entire scene of dialogue. How are we... And my sound guy was like, yeah, not worried about it at all. And I was like,
I suppose it depends which kind of sound it is, isn't it? Whether they can remove that. I suppose if it's in the same bandwidth as like a voice, it's going to be harder to remove.
Yeah. I despaired over the sound of this film ever actually working because you're just acutely aware of every little noise that goes on in the background of every scene. And if I ever once barked at anybody, it was because they were making a noise, I'm just like, who's doing that?
Have you ever become aware of like the lip smack noise? I became.
Yes.
I was working with like a really high end sound guy, and they're like, we've got a lips desmacker software.
A lip desmack.
They pay like a subscription for it, and they're like, but you've got to remove like a certain number because if you remove too many, it doesn't sound normal. So it's like, how many lip smacks do you keep in your final mix?
I do remember there's this one scene in the movie where Nick Galitzine is like proudly showing off his tie, and there's this great take that we had, and I'm watching it, and he's like, do you like my tie? And he's like hitting it, and he's just hitting his mic, and it's just like, and I'm like, oh my god, can you please not touch your tie? Can you not touch your mic? You understand why like those older Italian films, they just didn't even bother with sound, right? They were like, we're gonna get it all in post, and like I prefer the naturalistic sound, but what they could do, like you could actually like maybe try and get away with that.
But if you listen to some of those old movies now, the echo on them, the boom was clearly in the corner of the room, and we totally accepted it. It was never an issue. But now we've heard it so brilliantly. But I also think audiences have changed because of YouTube and because of social media. They're now hearing it in a totally, they're used to someone filming on their phone. They're used to bad sound. Look at COVID, when suddenly the news reports and stuff, people were just accepting it. No one really complained, but we all went, oh my God.
I mean, I am acutely aware of the fact that we spent all this care, all this time, and not a small amount of money making this movie that some people will watch on their iPhones with just not even like headphones in, but just like the sound coming, the tinny sound coming out. And
it does upset me sometimes.
The thought of it was really, really upsetting to me. And my 78-year-old legendary cinematographer, Stephen Goldblatt, he's like, let them watch it on their phones. Just let them watch it on their phones. And I was like, all right, Stephen, if you're cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. And that's just the thing, we do have to accept it. Yes. And that's it, as long as people are watching it. Right?
Well,
This is it.
I am not joking. I once was on the subway in New York City and I looked over and I watched someone. I am not making this up. They were watching Lawrence of Arabia on their phone, and I was like, look,
there should be laws against
there
it.
should be laws against that. Like, I honestly, there's not much Congress can do, but surely we can pass a law prohibiting anyone from watching Lawrence of Arabia.
That's what they should be lobbying for.
But I was like, well, it's a long movie, and you can get it done on the commute.
And they'd obviously been told, why haven't you ever watched it? You should watch this movie. And they went, oh, well, I'll watch it on my commute.
I'll watch it.
And they're probably literally in those big wide shots. They won't be able to see anything.
Well, and then, it's letterboxed, so it's like even small. It's not even fill the screen, and
they're not going to hear that when the match goes out on an iPhone, are they?
Yeah, the sound will be terrible.
But you know what? Maybe he loves it. Maybe he loves it.
Maybe they do. But yes, it is interesting, isn't it, how we these type of things, we care so much about them.
Stephen Goldblatt is like, just let it be.
Let it be.
Let it be.
And actually, we have to. We have to let it be. How does it? And like you say, this is your debut movie, right? You've written so much. You've been in this industry a long time, plays wise. But in terms of you as a director, like your debut movie, like right now, you seem really excited, really happy that the movie's coming out and the screenings today. Yeah. How does it feel?
Coming from theater, I know that the degree to which this movie can reach people in terms of sheer numbers, it is not even comparable. Like, more people watch the trailer to this movie than have ever seen any production of all of my plays combined in my entire career. That's just the 2-minute trailer, right? So like, the order of magnitude is so great. And the scale, the upscale of it is so great that I can barely even make sense of it in my mind, that like, it's going to be in 240 countries, that it's going to be available to millions and tens of millions of people instantaneously. That is really exciting. It's also, I think there's something good about being a filmmaker too, in some ways, where you're very, obviously, I'm very attached to the film. I'm very proud of the film. It's very personal. I spent 2.5 years working on it, but you're also acutely aware of the fact that it is not yours, right? It belongs to the studio. Yeah. It's not I do not own it. Unlike my plays, which are legal property that I own, this movie is only mine in terms of my stamp on it. My fingerprints are all over it, but it isn't mine. So that actually helps separate. At the end of the day, I can always tell myself it's a job. And I can calm myself with that, right? Yes. It's hard to do because, I take pride in the work that I do and all that. But yeah, you just, I know enough to just know that I just need to relinquish it and hand it over, and it will be what it is.
Yeah, I suppose it is a difficult process, isn't it? Because you're, on the one hand, you want to hear what everyone thinks, and then there's also the audience.
I don't know.
There's the sort of the audience.
I might disagree with that. I don't know if I do need to hear what everybody thinks.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I do. I go on ignorance is bliss. Like, honestly, like
yeah.
I am not one of these people who go instant. I worked on my play The Inheritance for many, many years, and Justin Martin, who was the associate director, who's a director in his own right, he would instantly, as soon as the curtain go down, he'd go on Twitter. And he just wanted to read what everyone was writing on Twitter. And I was like, Justin, you are crazy. Why are you doing that? And like, I don't want to know. I like, the weekend this movie comes out, like, good luck finding me in the world, let alone on Instagram or social media. Cause I just, like, it's none of my business. It's actually not what people think of my work is actually none of my business. It's my business insofar as it influences my ability to do more work. Like,
the overall
my career is one thing. My life is another. And when it concerns my life, like, it's none of my business what people think of my movie, pro or con.
And any kind of review is objective at the end of the day. So really, I suppose it's about focusing on a story that you care about. Yeah. With everyone in the team making the best thing you can, and if you've done that, that's really the most important part.
If you can send it, and it's the same with the play. It's just, I learned this in years of theater. If you can put it out there, proud of what it is, if you know that you have done good work on it, that you've done the best work that you can on it, that everybody who came into the process put their best work into it, then what more can you possibly ask? I mean, there are plenty of great movies that were not appreciated in their time, and there are a bunch of terrible movies that were beloved in its time, and so it's just sort of like, do I stand by the work? Yes. Am I proud of it? Yes. Am I ready to release it into the world? Yes. And then it's gone for me. And I think there's something really nice about that. Like, I just, it isn't mine.
Enjoy the premiere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but there is actually really something lovely about, I think as filmmakers, we can sometimes get bogged down in it and start worrying about reviews and worrying about what people think. And you get obsessed and get lost in that. I've heard so many filmmakers say that to me.
You have to let go.
And you have to let go. And I love what you said there. And I think it's so inspiring for so many filmmakers listening that sort of going, actually, it's not mine anymore.
It's not mine. No, trust me. We're sitting here on the day that the review embargo is lifted. So like part of my brain today is on Rotten Tomatoes, right?
Right.
Like, do not get me wrong. I am like, part of my
Still
brain
care.
is there,
Sure,
right? And
sure.
I'm like, I invoke it now to talk about it. And as I'm doing it, my stomach juices are churning and I'm getting very, very nervous talking about it. And like, I'm looking over at my assistant on his computer and I'm convinced that he's on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
100%, right?
Even though we made a pact not to look at it today.
His denial wasn't very believable.
Anything, but obviously you think about that, and obviously you want, but for my like, I can't. I will get a sense, and that's it.
So going from this point where it's out there now, how do we go back right to the beginning of how you got attached to this project, how you sort of started to get it made?
So it was early 2020. It was just before the pandemic. Those blissful days when we had no idea what was coming to us. I had just opened The Inheritance on Broadway, and I was very actively looking for a film to make. I was like, it was time to make a movie. And I was reading a bunch of things. I was, and I had a couple of projects that maybe was going to happen, maybe not going to happen. And I read this, my agent sent me this book, and I fell in love with it. Like instantaneously, I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the world. And I just knew, like, you just know. And so from very early on, I like page 50, I like to say, I knew I wanted to make this movie. And so I pursued, it turns out that, Greg Berlanti, who is the producer of the film, had the rights. He was also a producer of The Inheritance on Broadway.
Oh my God.
So I called Greg and I was like,
dude,
why haven't you called me already about this thing? And Greg was like, well, Greg. I didn't think it would be, well, because like The Inheritance is like, serious and 7 hours and about AIDS and HIV and couldn't be further from this thing. And he actually said, I didn't think that this would be your thing. And I was like, it's two boys in love. Like, what isn't this? How isn't this my thing? Yeah. So I really pursued this gig, and I let it be known that I didn't just want to write it. I wanted to direct it. I wanted to make this movie, like soup to nuts. I wanted this to be my directorial debut. And so after quite a bit of like time passing, eventually it all sort of came a year almost.
Yeah. Okay. And that's you pitching during that time.
Well, that was just me. That's COVID too. So like, who the hell knows? And I'm sure there was like this big period of time where like nothing was going on. And it was just before Christmas. It was actually, I think it was, I don't know why I remember this. It was December 21st, 2020. And I got an email from my agent saying, you'll never guess what just sort of landed in your lap today. Merry Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
And it was an email from Greg and Sarah, my producers, saying, do you want to start working on this with us? And so, I was like, yeah. And, from there we were off to the races. So,
and during that time, how much had you pitched? How much had you shown?
Nothing at all. I just, again, like when we started this conversation, I just put it out in the world and I let go of it. And I did other things. Like I spent 2020 writing other movies. I spent 2020, doing a lot of different things, crying and eating too much ice cream and like the rest of us. And I actually forgot about it, which
is often the best way. Is like actually to put it out your mind, do that initial like, right, I'm going to do this. This is I'm throwing myself into the mixer.
I think so.
And then just put it out of mind, and then it's like your prior relationships with Greg, etc., and your pitch. Sometimes that's enough, and just the time, and it just comes to you.
Yeah. And then after the new year in 2021, I met with the studio and I pitched them my idea, and I pitched myself as I let it be known I wanted to direct it. And we just, the approval process started, and 2.5 years later, here we are.
And what was the process once the studio came on board in terms of like where the script was before, and maybe how they wanted to, like, what was their take versus your take?
Because of the writer's strike, I am not going to talk about anything, and I'm fine with this staying in the podcast, this answer, which is, you know what, I'm here as the director of this film, and as the writer of this film, I'm on strike.
Okay, cool.
Great, and we're fully supporting that. Like, we did a full podcast about the writer's strike and what we believe with that. So I am here as the director of the movie, and the writer, unfortunately, couldn't make it today. Yes, he's on strike.
He's on strike.
Yeah, he's got his petition board up, and absolutely. And that's okay. So, directing side of it, how did you prepare going into this? Because you've got the script now.
Yeah,
you're happy with it.
Yeah.
Now you've got to work out how you're going to actually direct this and shoot it? So you bring your DP on board. Talk us through that process for you.
The first thing I knew about this film, which is, it sounds really too broad and general to be of any use, practically. But I knew that I didn't want this movie to look, feel, or be disposable. Okay. Even though we're doing a rom-com with a potentially ludicrous premise, a beautifully ludicrous premise.
For sure.
In the same way that a Richard Curtis movie has a beautifully ludicrous premise. I just wanted to make sure that the movie felt grounded. I didn't want to sort of run aground on the shoals of too much sort of rom-com, too much young people in love. It's what caused me to cast a little older than people assume that characters are from the novel. I needed this film to not in any way deny what it is, which is a love story. It's a romance. It's a romantic comedy. But it is one that is set in the Oval Office of the White House, and it is in Buckingham Palace. And there's these amazing potential locations that we had at our disposal. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to make the film. And so when I started looking for a DP, I was mostly looking for someone who had experience with bigger films. And by bigger, I didn't necessarily, it doesn't need to be Avatar, right? But it needs to be someone who knows how to bring a kind of a depth to the film.
And so you were talking about the cinematography. Is it also the characters? Because you're sort of talking about like rom-com tropes.
Yeah.
Is it like the 3-dimensional level of the characters as well as the cinematography that's like the grounding?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking for actors for this. Like I went into this thing saying, I want actors who may become movie stars as a result of this thing. I don't want movie stars that maybe are sort of questionable acting skills.
Maybe become actors.
Yeah, exactly. I know what direction I wanted to go. And so, with Nicholas and Taylor, I got that, I mean, those two are just so like before they are anything. I mean, they've got matinee idol looks. They are primed for movie stardom. They're everything that you want in a movie star, but they are in the film because they are such wonderful actors. And so, it was just it was very intentional just to build something with quality ingredients, right? Yes. It's like I wanted to make the most wonderful dessert using the best ingredients, that was basically what we were going for.
Right. Okay. And how much you planned with your shots? Did you do shot lists? Did you do storyboards? Where did you think about camera angles?
All of the stuff. I mean, as a first film for anyone, there are a lot of big scenes in this thing. And like I had big crowd scenes and I had Huge. Something approaching, sort of action in certain scenes, and it was really important to me that as a first time filmmaker who in pre-production had zero practice at this to get my thoughts. I think the biggest help that I was given by this was the thoroughness of the pre-production process, which was actually 3 months long. And like in my storyboard sessions with my storyboard artist, with my first AD and with my director of photography, the idea of just allowing me to articulate to people what I saw in my head. It was good training for like actually how to talk to people about what's inside of my head. B, it was actually good to investigate what was inside of my head. And C, it was really good to sort of test whether or not what's in my head is practical or achievable given the time restraints, the budget, all that stuff. So we spent 3 months and it all happened, simultaneously with location scouting, and then the locations were really, really helpful to help determine. And like when Stephen Goldblatt came over to start working on the film about 2 months before production started, going to all the locations with him multiple times, and just sort of like, so we did not leave a lot to chance on this film. Like I think that maybe if you had a more experienced filmmaker coming in, they would have maybe be able to dash it off a little faster than I did, but I did not want to get on set and try to like figure it out there.
Does that pose a challenge though? So you're talking about going to set and you're finding the locations from a cinematography point of view. So then how does that work in terms of rehearsals and working with actors? If you've kind of pre-planned a lot with certain ideas about scenes, like how do you fit the actors?
I relied on my theater training, and by the time we got into rehearsals, I knew what all the sets were going to be. I knew what the locations were going to be. I knew them backwards and forwards. I had them tape out the major sets on the floor.
Great.
I knew the geography of every space we were going to film a major scene in my head. So, and more so, we had sort of, approximations of them in the room. So I had so much of the physical spaces in the movie in my head by the time I started rehearsing. So rehearsing for us was a mix of just sitting around and talking about the characters and getting, especially Taylor and Nick, an opportunity to get to know each other and work together. But it was also just sort of like getting it on its feet and just sort of like figuring out how these two people operate in relation to each other physically. And so it was, I basically approached the making of this film as a film, but I also got to bring a lot of my theater training to bear. And I think it really helped me. There was
using it in a positive way to actually add to being a new time filmmaker rather than taking away from it.
I just didn't, I needed to make up the gulf between my desires and my knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew that I was going to get on set and I would be presented daily with new experiences. What I didn't want to be a new experience was my understanding of the scene, right? Yeah. My understanding of why the scene is in the movie, why we're shooting it, the point of the scene, what I need to get from it. So the shot lists became like a nightly thing. I didn't really do shot lists like weeks ahead of time. It was the way I prepared every day. I'd get home from set, I'd have dinner, I'd hang out with my husband, play with my dog, and then I would do my shot list for the next day.
Yes.
And then invariably you get on set and you start, and one of the great things about Stephen Goldblatt is that he does shoot from the hip sometimes. So sometimes I would send him the shot list and he goes, "Oh, that's sweet." And I'd be like, "Steven, just look at the thing, okay? Yeah. Just for me.
Please,
look at it. You don't even need to put your glasses on.
Yeah.
Just look at it.
Just hold it up on your face."
But what would happen invariably is that Stephen would then find a way to shoot the scene in which I was like, "Oh, that's number 2, number 4, and 5 in one."
Yeah.
So I was like, "You just reduced my shot list by 3, which is probably why you didn't need to look at it in the first place because you're Stephen Goldblatt and you've been around.
Yes.
Barry Lyndon was the first movie he worked on.
Wow.
So he was a camera operator on that. Yeah. So but for me as a first time filmmaker, indulge me, Stephen. Look at my shot list, and then shoot from the hip, and we'll reduce it, and which was great because you ended up moving a lot faster than you think you will.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely. And during that, like you said, then you'd go to set. And I love that you did your shot list the night before. I do that too. Even though I might have done them months before, thought about it.
Sometimes I would on the bigger things I needed
to do.
Yeah.
Because you need to give it to your stunt team or whoever or art team or whatever. But sometimes doing it the night before makes you really fresh. These are the scenes we're doing tomorrow. These are the shots that I think might work. And in that location. And I think that's really important. And then when you got to set, you could be free to go, well, let's play.
And also, it's putting too much into your head the night before as well. Like, I mean, you can't think about, you obviously have to think about them at the start in pre-production of like the whole bigger picture. Yes. If you're thinking about like the next 5 or 10 scenes, how are we going to get this one done? How are we going to do this one? You get to spread too thin. And it's by keeping focused, it's fresh in your mind, dream about it, back to set the next day.
One of the things that Stephen and I did, which was really helpful, is that we really invested in our master shots for more than just sort of setting the geography of the scene. We really sort of staged them like mini plays, and we kept the camera moving almost always in these, unless it's it's a scene in which you obviously can't or don't want to move the camera. So we invested, and we would do the masters on different sizes. So we would I think we would, on bigger scenes, we would shoot the master three different ways. Right. And sometimes we would shoot like in the Oval Office because it's, you try shooting in a round room. Like there's just oh my God.
It's got a round track or nothing.
Yeah. And it would just be like, so much of those scenes were just like master shots that were on different sizes. And then you realize that you've got most of the scene already done. And then you can, and one of the things that was really important to me was how much of this film, because I was looking at these old screwball comedies from the 30s. Yeah. And one of the great qualities of those movies is that the actors are in the frame together. and they're just doing their thing.
Yes.
And and the director is smart enough to know to get out of their way.
Yeah.
And don't mess with them.
Yeah.
Don't mess with them.
If you don't need to.
If you don't need to. And I had actors who were really adept at that. And so I found as I was shooting and then later as I was cutting, like those master shots that we were getting, that Stephen and I started to get, as soon as we realized that was going to be our filmmaking language, we started to get really ambitious about them. Things started to go off the track and onto onto Steadicam. Yeah. We were doing more in masters than we thought we were going to be able to do. We were running whole scenes, and they were visually really interesting. Great. We did things that I thought I needed to do, like 4 or 5 different setups. We got in one. There are so many scenes in the film that we get in one. And there were occasional scenes where I didn't even need to go in for coverage. We had it. We knew we had it.
The actors, right?
Oh my God, they had so much fun because they just didn't have to compartmentalize their performances. They could just be. And I mean, there are very few people in this film who don't have stage experience, and that helps too, So again, coming from the theater, I got to like do little mini plays, and then we just started to get really cocky. I mean, it worked out well for us, but we were like, let's just do as many wonders as we possibly can in this movie. And let's just like, and we had one of the best camera operators in all of England, which is Pete Cavicciuti. And like, he's like, he's one of the great. And so
he's wonderful.
Yeah. And so we got to play, and we got to really invent on set. And so that was a beautiful learning experience for me. Is it's just to, again, you go in with a plan, and then the plan changes in favor of a better idea. And usually sometimes that better idea costs you time, but it's a better idea and you got to go for it. Yep. And then sometimes that better idea actually saves you time. And usually the better idea ends up saving you time.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving masters are my favorite. It's just so much fun because you can rehearse with the actors beforehand, think about this, and then you get it and you're like, oh my God, we've actually covered most of this.
If I ever got into trouble on set, it was because I didn't do the master first.
There you go.
And like, for whatever reason, lighting, whatever, if I, it just, and I was like, it always felt as though the scene took longer than it needed to if you don't start with the master.
Well, because you're restrictive. If you do your single first on someone, and if it's a crime scene, I get it. Sometimes you might need to do that, or an emotional scene, but then you're restricted because you've kind of locked off the actor and the camera.
That was the thing with Uma. One of the things that, I was told, I was like, she's a movie star, you just like get her stuff first, and I was like, yeah, I get it. I mean, and then like after the first day with Uma, I was like, oh, she and I are getting along so well. I basically just said to her, I'm like, Uma, this is what I want to do every day. What do you think? And she's like, oh God, please, let's do that. That's better for me anyway. So I was like, that was, and also you get so lucky as to have someone like Uma who's so chill about that stuff. Like, obviously once we are going in for singles, she goes first, but, I told Taylor, she doesn't need to insist. No. I told Taylor, it's hilarious. I said, look, Uma came in on like week 5 and 6, and I said, Taylor, who plays her son, I said, look, you're going to, you are in pretty much every scene in this movie. You're going to be there's going to be, you're going to be working all the time. And then Uma's going to show up, and then we're going to have lovely images at the back of your head for 2 weeks.
Yes, except that we'll be focusing on her.
It's like you're suddenly going to be like the cat. It's like, I remember there being a camera on the set. Where did it go? I'm like, it's behind you, darling.
We'll come back to you later, probably next week. But for now, just go with it. Remember your performance, please. How did you deal with actors and performances? You seem like you're fantastic with them. What was your technique or things where you weren't happy with the performance? Or there's something, like you said, often you let the actors go with the flow and just find those moments. What did you do to pull the performance out?
I think largely it was just I had very prepared actors who came on set. I think one of the things that I was able to lean on I really used that whole I'm from theater thing to the hilt. I was like, I'm from theater. We really, I like
It's performance.
I really want you to come in so off book that it's like backwards. Like you could do it as a play. I really want
in theater. Everyone's off book.
In theater, I'm from theater. I should get a T-shirt that says I'm from theater.
I'm from theater.
I'm from theater. But I did, and I was like, but I did start to let them know that, like, look, we're really invested investing in these wonders. So don't learn it in the makeup chair, right?
Yeah.
And they were all like really eager for that. And so I first had a great group of actors who were all really prepared every day, which was very helpful. And then I just think they were so well cast. And that's, Kelly and Rich, my two casting directors, have deserve so much credit for this film, that there was just not a lot of daylight between the people in their roles. And then I think too that like inevitably you just, it's no different. The only difference between it in my training in theater in terms of working with actors is that in theater, if it's a bad night, you come back tomorrow and you have a better night. And film, I'm like, I can't really go anywhere until we get this right. So
it's a bad night. You're going to come back and it's expensive.
Yeah. Look, I had enough of a rapport and a level of trust with my actors that inevitably, if something wasn't working, I just sat down with them and I just said, this isn't working. Here I think is why it isn't working. What is going on? What is in your head that is causing you to do this? Because it's not helping you. And I think I earned their trust enough to, at the end of the day, just be honest with them and cut through all the bullshit and just simply say, it's not working. Here's why. Let's try something else. And like, ultimately, like, I hope one day, I'm certain I will have to work with an actor whom you can't say that to, but I hope it's not for a while, because what I also love about these actors were so eager to serve the story and serve the characters that if I ever said to them, it isn't working, they were like, well, how do I make it work better?
Yeah.
And
how much of that is improvisation and how much is kind of working through their motivations, like on set? How much do you stick to the script?
We stuck to the script.
Really stuck to the
We
script.
stuck to
Okay,
the
so
script.
it's finding
it was
the
really important.
Subtext,
That's
really
what the rehearsals were for. Like, it wasn't just Taylor and Nick. It was as many of the actors as we could get into town early. And what I said to them all is like, these 2 weeks are your time to question, challenge, change, do whatever you want. It is like an open source code. We can tear it apart and build it again in these 2 weeks. Whatever is going to help you in your performance, whatever you're unclear about, whatever's hard to say, tell me now. You have 2 weeks to speak, because when we get on set, this thing is locked, and I have a script supervisor who is a terrier, and I am going to sick her on you. But they all had warning. They were like, you've got these 2 idyllic weeks of playtime, and then we're going to get on set and it's work time, so that no one can complain that they didn't have time to acclimate themselves to a scene. Like, we all did our homework on this together, so that on set, while I very much encouraged play and I very much encouraged, let's do a version where we're just really sort of like, don't worry about it. Like, because we're not doing a kind of comedy that rewards sort of that like, who knows what's going to come out of our mouths.
Right.
And we're also not doing a drama where like, fidelity to the text is not as important as fidelity to the emotions, which I could also see being true. With this, we are actually doing a very tightly scripted screwball comedy, the likes of which you don't get to see a lot of, and the words are very important. And so, and I firmly believe that actually actors usually end up finding themselves in trouble when they're actually not on their lines. If you're not on your lines, you're thinking about your lines. You're not thinking about the emotions. You're not thinking about the other person in the scene. You're thinking about, oh God, what's my next line?
You're thinking about the surface layer, not the subtext.
Exactly. So I said, the more we can be, sort of have fidelity to the text, the more you can know it backwards and forwards, there's actually the reverse of what most sort of, younger actors probably would think, which is like, oh, I'm going to come in, I'm going to kind of know it. And I'm like, that's where you get into trouble.
Yes.
There's so much freedom in knowledge of the text.
I love that. And you being the writer as well could actually, you're literally like, no, we're
Can't talk about that.
Yeah.
I knew when there was just a day when someone came in and they weren't so on it. And inevitably with either Nick or Taylor, they had so much work to do, inevitably they go home and they crash and they don't look at the scene the night before and they learn it in the chair. I get it. I am not unsympathetic to that, but you could always tell on those days, like, you're struggling, and you're struggling because you don't know the scene.
Yeah, and you're tired and you haven't slept, or you've gone out, or, well, you shouldn't have. Yeah, this is only for, how long did you shoot for, by the way?
9 weeks.
9 weeks. Okay. Yeah, it's only 9 weeks. Just for this 9 weeks.
And they were, and
let's
I
all
will
get
say,
on
I
with
mean,
it.
those moments were rare, and I think those, and you could see the whites of their eyes too. Whenever they were like, "Oh God, this is not my best day."
The script supervisor's going to
yeah,
kill me.
I'm like, and I looked at her, I'm like, Irene, get him. But it's like, but you could see the whites in their eyes when they just knew they weren't connecting or clicking. The other thing that I was taught very early by Stephen Goldblatt, which he was like a font of wisdom, because he worked with Mike Nichols.
Yeah.
And he said to me, if you're ever, if your back's against the wall, if you're not getting what you need from the actor, if the actor is struggling or you're not being able to communicate with the actor effectively, clear the set and rehearse. Stop what you're doing, clear the set and rehearse. I rarely ever had to do that, but on the few occasions when I did, and it was, every time I did it was just because you could just, the actor was just sort of,
stiffening up.
Yeah. They just lost the thread, you know? And then there's pressure because like, oh God, we're on take 7, we're on take 8. And then on the rare occasions I just said, all right, everybody, why don't we just, everybody go get a tea. Let's leave us alone. And you hit the reset button and inevitably all that tension goes out of their bodies, out of their voices. You come back and you get it on the next one.
I love that. That's a really good tip, that actually. Yeah, it really does make a difference.
You get in the pan, and then it's like the focus puller is like staring at you, and you're like 15 people doing checks every time. Like, right, we're going for take 232.
Yeah. And of course, on the few occasions I would do that, my first AD would like look at me and tap his watch, and I'm like, and I learned, and Stephen was right. You will save time by taking time sometimes.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's so true.
Rushing, it's like, no, we're not going to go makeup checks, or we're going to sort of power through it. And actually,
the check. I learned that was the other thing. I did learn. Okay, there was a newbie sort of like I would cut at the end, and my first Ben Lanning, first said, you don't have to cut every time, you know this. And I was like, I didn't know this. Tell me more. I'm from theater. I don't know. And he's like, just reset. Just reset. And they're not going to come anywhere near the actors. And I'm like, really? Because these checks, I don't think they are necessary every single time. And so
it's finding the balance, isn't it?
Yeah. Reset. And I was like, reset.
Good. We're going again straight away. Don't cut the camera.
Yeah.
Makes a difference because the actors are in the zone.
Yeah.
They're in the zone. Everyone's in the and they go, I can get it. I'm there.
I learned that trick on like day 5, and I was like, it took you 5 days to tell me this, Ben. Because I don't know. You kept cutting, and I was like, oh God,
why is he cutting again? Let's go through the 2-minute process to get speeding again.
Sometimes longer. It can take ages. I love that with actors. They're in the zone, and you just want to keep going and play, and it's great. It's great advice. I'm glad we've said that.
Uma's very good at that. Uma's very good at that. Like, she, Uma knows to let them do the work on her that they feel they need to between takes, but she's just like, if it's not net, let's just keep going. Uma was really like, let's just keep going.
Which is great, because unless you've done something that needs to be reset, like someone's drank something, or they've eaten something, faces melted off, sure, the hair's come up because of the wind, sure. But if it's not, you're in a studio, everything's
I actually I realized that I just started cutting consumables from the plan. I was like, they don't need a drink in this scene. Like, cut that. But about week 3, I was like, I was like, do they need to be drinking? They don't. Cut the drink.
Do they need to be smoking?
Well, nope. No. There's only one cigarette in the movie. But do they need? Oh God, there's a cigarette and a cigar. Can I just tell you something?
Yes.
I have thought twice about ever needing to do a scene with a cigar in it. Can I just warn everyone, if there's any first time, can I warn any first time filmmaker who might be listening to this podcast, it's less even the continuity, it's the stink. I could live with Stephen Fry smoking a cigarette in my movie for a few takes. Like, that was okay because but there's a scene in the movie where Cliff Collins is smoking a cigar, and he's smoking a cigar the entire scene. And what didn't occur to me was that he would be smoking that cigar for 5 or 6 hours.
You'd all be smoking it.
That soundstage reeked of cigar smoke. And I was like, I finished that and I was like, never again.
Yeah.
I am never putting a
just
cigar.
no need.
I'm just never. It was great for the character. It looks great in the movie.
Looks cool.
It's a really good introduction to who this character. It's his first scene of the movie.
Put it
it's
out.
actually really good for the character to see him smoking the cigar.
Yeah.
But I came home stinking. I was like, I can't even imagine. At least Cliff was in a costume and he got home and changed. But I was like, never again am I putting a cigar in one of my movies.
So listen, Matthew, you mentioned locations before and finding all these amazing locations, right? Talk us through, because I wasn't sure where you'd shot everything. I wasn't sure if you had shot anywhere else apart from where I thought you shot, which was just the UK. Talk me through where you did, because these locations are fantastic.
You're obviously in the presidential suite, the Oval Office.
Obviously, you shot there.
Yes, Biden was very nice.
Yes,
shoot
which was nice. He was busy. He was off doing something
Abiding
else.
by what you were saying.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, this whole movie was shot in England.
It was. Okay,
everything.
Great. I'm
And
glad I
which is-
got that. bit. Because there is an Oval Office, I know, down south at my
were using
friend's
it. They were
house.
Charles's
using
presidential suite.
Yes,
It was
my
being
house.
it was being used there. We actually, one of the first things that the producers did was look into all the different Oval offices. There's one in Burbank. Tyler Perry has one in Atlanta.
Good for Tyler.
of course he does.
I think there's one in Toronto, and then there is one in Liverpool
Yes, there's one in Liverpool.
and one in Scotland.
Yes, but I think there's another one down somewhere near here.
Well, they were all booked. They were
okay.
all booked.
Right.
And
Busy presidential.
Yeah, we did
season.
not. We knew we needed to film here in England, and so Burbank was really kind of out of the question, and so we just built our own Oval Office.
Oh, you built it?
We built it. We built from scratch
Wow.
our own Oval Office.
I was going to say, did you have removable walls where you could have got the camera back?
We did have removable walls. We just the oval that we built was about 15% larger than the real one.
Good.
Or maybe
Yes.
20% larger than the
makes
real
sense.
one. So we were able to just
Take that, POTUS.
And so we were actually able to get any equipment in there that we wanted to. But yeah, so we built the oval. We built Alex's bedroom. We built, what else did we build, Mark? We built a couple of
Mark's racking his brain.
No
It's a
year
idea.
ago. But most of this film was done on location. The cigar scene, the Truman balcony we built. But almost everything in the White House that is official, we had to build.
Right.
Then we went to locations around London for a lot of the interiors for Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
And that we were in Goldsmiths Hall for the banquet, for the opening, the wedding scene.
Yeah, good place for a banquet.
But it was the biggest challenge was shooting America here. And Texas in particular, because you think that Texas, and I was convinced.
It's a scale, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, Steven and I were convinced we were going to need to do reshoots in Texas. We were convinced that we were going to have to go and do a Texas unit, and we were so wrong about that. Like, there's not a single shot of this movie that wasn't made in England. Not a single. There's some stock footage in there, of course, you know.
Sure,
But London for Paris, London for Austin, Texas, London for England for everything.
So how did you do the Austin, Texas bits? Because I'm like, where did you shoot
There's a place in it's an airstrip in far west London called White Waltham. It's not even in London, it's outside of London. White Waltham, and it's an airstrip. So we did, like, there's a couple of scenes on an airstrip in the movie. There's all the airplane scenes we shot there because they have, like, interiors of planes. But the area surrounding it, the property itself, is really utilitarian looking. And when we were scouting it, my location manager was like, "There's a lot here that you could use for a lot of the Texas stuff." And so we just that sequence where Alex is campaigning in Texas. He goes to a barbecue. He's just like at a shipping container place by the port of Houston, which we said that was where that was. All that stuff was in this area near this airstrip.
Wow.
Yeah. And then like we shot at a house in Kent for for Alex's family's country home. So we got a lot of mileage out of England for Texas. I really didn't think it was possible, but nobody who I've shown the movie to who knows Texas doubted it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's great location
But now it's so
manager.
funny because, like, we're watching, my husband and I are catching up on The Bear, and we were watching.
I've just
last
finished
night.
that.
Last night,
Unbelievable.
don't tell me. Last night I just saw the
So good,
episode
though.
where Marcus goes to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And and so. Now I've of course become the cynic now. So my husband, wow, they went to Copenhagen. I'm like, they didn't go to Copenhagen. That's Chicago for Copenhagen. Trust me. But it's you get a good location scout, and you get a good location manager, and you can and a production designer, and you can make anything look like anything.
You can cheat anything during that time. Then in that prep process, because it's daunting for a first-time filmmaker. It's daunting for any filmmaker. But like you said, you were going, surely we're going to reshoot this. Surely we're going to do it. What was going through your head and the mental process, like in mental health during that time? 9-week shoot, you going through all that, doing it. It's a long process. What did you do to help that? It sounds like you went home to your husband and your dog and you relaxed. Talk us through that a little bit about that process for filmmakers.
Oh God, I actually am really. I think I'm built for it in that I love to cocoon, and I'm very good at self-protection and preserving energy. So I lived a little monk existence, It was, up early, go to bed early. I would come home at night, and it was an English summer, so we had lots of daylight,
Not this summer.
Not this summer. We had no rain, high heat, which was fine for me.
You had the super summer.
We had the super summer last year, and
but no rain is good.
No rain was very good. It was bad for the grass, but good for the good for filming, and it were some hot days outside. But I would come home and eat an early dinner, play with. At the time we were living near Primrose Hill, so we would take the dog out to play, get home, watch an episode of something.
Oh, you would?
Yeah. I would need
decompress.
to. I would need to. I would usually do my shot list. Sometimes I would do my shot list. Actually, I would just maintain the energy of the day and do my shot list in the car ride home when I was leaving set, just because I would love to get it out of the way if I could. But then, watching it. Last summer. We watched The Old Man.
Oh yeah,
that show with Jeff Bridges, and that was really great to watch over the course of the filmmaking. Watched a couple of different things, and then get to bed really super early before. I felt like a kid again. I was like going to bed before the sun went down.
I've always felt that's like such a big thing for me. Is instead of like feeling that you have to entertain yourself and spend a lot of time. Sometimes it's not about massively over preparing for the next day. It's just literally getting a good night's sleep.
The best way to prepare for the day ahead is just to be rested.
Because if you're slow and you're tired, it doesn't matter how much prep you've done. You're not going to be able to make decisions.
Yeah. And I actually relish that time. I actually really, because I'm not naturally an early riser. I'm a night owl.
Me too,
and so, but I actually really loved it to get up at 5:30, 6 in the morning, getting up at 5:30, having a morning, before I left for set, while the husband and dog are still sleeping. And, it was good. And we're dealing with, in addition to it being dry and hot, there was a COVID outbreak in England last July while we were filming, and it got us too. So we actually shut down for about 8 or 9 days, and I was the only person among all the principals to not get COVID during that thing. We lost a number of actors. We lost a number of actors and quite a number of our crew and key crew at that. And I was really the only one who didn't get it. And so then I became Bubble Boy. And so my producer sat me down and she's like, so no more movies, no more theater, no more interior, no more restaurants inside for the rest of the shoot. We can't afford to lose you because we're coming back from this COVID shutdown. So in addition to all that, I had no life because on the weekends I was Bubble Boy.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So it was, it was 9 weeks, and actually it was somewhat weirdly, bizarrely pleasurable.
Yeah.
To just sort of like
decompression time.
I'm sorry, I can't see you. I'm in COVID.
I'm not a big fan of that anyway. Like I know there's obviously there's times when you want to bond with your crew and your cast and stuff, but I really do think it's important when you've been asked a billion questions in a day to just chill out and not have lots of mental energy at the end of a long shoot day.
I'm generally very social within the teams that I'm working with, but on this one, I was just I'm from theater. You go out.
We don't socialize afterwards in theater.
I would like, you go out, you go to the pub, you go to the bar if you're in New York City, you do like, and I was like, I did become one of those directors who like the second we wrap, I am
out of here
in the car, and like,
Can we just chat about tomorrow? He's gone.
Bye. He is gone. That was one of the pleasures of filmmaking that I definitely indulged in.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about the edit side of it then, and the post. And how did that change for you? Because you'd never done it before.
Yeah, everything is my favorite part while I'm doing it, but
it's not afterwards.
I loved post. I really loved editing the film. For me, I was finally alone with my movie. And I finally got to just sort of see what I had. And I love the deliberative nature of editing. I think because I'm a writer, there's something very, very similar to it is writing. Editing is writing, and I got to, there are so many different versions of this film that exist on a hard drive somewhere. And like, I love, my favorite thing is being wrong. I love being wrong. Being wrong is like so sexy. I just love it. And it's just like your assumptions, your assumptions, you say, oh, well, obviously I need that scene. Yeah. Obviously I can't cut that scene. There's one scene in the movie that everybody told me to cut. And I was like, we're going to film it. It belongs in the movie. And I watched the assembly, and I was like, well, obviously we're cutting that scene. And I love being wrong. So the editing process for this that was the greatest learning curve for me. Like after 3 days on set, I had the hang of being on a set, and it was just basically another in a series of what is today's challenge, right? But it's all based on sort of the same sort of formula. In the editing process, it was like, I have infinite choices now. Infinite choices of the things that I have. And like, this movie could go in any different direction. And I loved the challenge of that. I loved the infinite possibilities of it.
If there was one bit of advice you could offer yourself, maybe starting out in that leap from theater to film, what might it be? Going off your last question, I wish I had I was offered the chance, and I took it to sit be on set with some people before I wish I had sat in on an edit. Okay.
What I will say is that when we were in that like 8 or 9 day COVID shutdown, I just went and started cutting the movie. Like my editor was already assembling. So
perfect.
So I went, and she and I, for a week, we just started putting together the opening of the film. Great. And I learned so much in that week. And when I came back to set, having cut the movie, having had a little experience cutting the movie, it changed how I shot.
Brilliant.
If there was anything I could tell a first-time filmmaker is forget going to sets, whatever. That's what you think is fun. What you need to know before you make a movie is how to cut one. If you can know how to cut a movie, then you know how to make a movie.
Cool. Never heard that one before. That's good.
No, I love that one. Yeah. Love it. That's great. Listen, Matthew, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Great
this
chat.
has been incredible. Red, White and Royal Blue is out now on Amazon. Go watch it. You'll really enjoy it. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it's your duty to
send the elevator back down.
We will see you all next Tuesday, as always. Matthew, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real pleasure. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.